phone died before I was done with what I wanted to do. Anyways, welcome back to my channel. I have not done a, like, it's kind of a get ready with me, but it's also like a makeup tutorial because I don't really consider myself like a makeup guru, but I do feel like I've learned a lot over the years, and this is my favorite time to do looks, if you will. With fall time, I just feel like there's more like cute outfits that go with these makeup looks, and they're my favorite, so I wanted to do one. I figured I would do it today because we have to go somewhere anyways this evening, and I'm gonna wear this really cute outfit that I just got from Abercrombie. I literally feel like the biggest Abercrombie freakazoid because I know people are gonna ask where this is from, and it's from Abercrombie, and then the outfit that I'm wearing tonight is also from Abercrombie. If you didn't watch my fall favorites, I talked a lot about Abercrombie outfits that I really like, and I was really serious about it. So anyways, let's go ahead and jump on into the makeup. I'm gonna try to make this as simple as possible. I don't want it to be like a really overly complicated makeup video, but there is quite a few steps. So without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, so my face is already washed and moisturized, and I'm going to use my tried and true Tula Face Filter Blurring and Moisturizing Primer. This is one of my all-time favorite primers. It just makes your skin look so nice and blurred, but without that weird mattifying or like weird consistency that sometimes mattifying primers can have. There was one, I think by Benefit, it was called Poreless or So Pored, something like that. And it always left a really weird film on my face. And sometimes if you put too much on, it would get very like, I don't know what the word I'm thinking of, but it's just a weird consistency, and I didn't like it. So first, before I even do any makeup or anything, I'm doing this little technique that I learned on TikTok, and this is the Nars Radiant Creamy Pot Concealer, and this is in the color Medium Custard. So where I have some scarring and some redness right now from where I have unfortunately picked my face. Oh, okay. You wanna get out? Fine, bye. I'm just going to take my ring finger and I'm going to put it on any types of like redness or anything that needs extra concealing. And I'm going to leave it. I know it's gonna look crazy, but we're just gonna leave it while I do my shadow and everything. And you're not gonna rub it in or blend it until we put the foundation on. I talked about this in my last tutorial style video, and I actually used this method for my wedding makeup that I did. It's something like super old school and looks ridiculous, but it really does help to get that really harsh line when you are doing your shadow and you don't want to have to like keep fixing it with concealer over and over again. So put 2 little Scotch tapies just like that. Then I'm just gonna take this Too Faced 24-hour Anti-Crease Shadow Primer. This has become my all-time favorite shadow primer, although it just has a really weird consistency and you have to shake it because it's like kind of watery. It's super weird, but it works really, really well. Take just a little bit of this, and then you're just gonna put that all over your lid. If you don't have an eyeshadow primer, like just because you're somebody that doesn't really do a ton of makeup, you can totally use a concealer. Just make sure to blend it out fully. I personally like to set my eyelids before I put shadow on them. So I'm just taking the Hourglass Veil Translucent Setting Spray with a damp beauty blender, and I'm just gonna put a teeny little bit on there and buff it out all the way to my eyebrows. So regardless of what look I'm doing on my eyes, I always take a really easy transition shade, and this for me is just MAC Soft Brown. And this is something that I've literally been using like for probably 6 or 7 years. This color will never get old to me. It is the perfect transition shade, and you can be super messy with it. It's not like too pigmented, it's not too harsh, but basically all you want to do is get it in the crease of your eye, kind of buff it out, get it all the way over into the corners, and drag it in towards the middle. This is just going to be what goes in between your crease shade and the shade that you are going to use on your actual eyelid. So instead of it just going right from your like shadow to your bare skin, you have this kind of like buffer shade in between. So I'm thinking today, just because I don't want to do anything too crazy, I'm going to take the Jaclyn Hill palette 2, and there are some really nice like browns and shimmers in here, and I'm just going to kind of keep it like neutral but a little bit warm because I'm gonna do a warmer lip today. So I'm gonna take Comfort Zone and mix it with Homebody, and I'm gonna put that in my outer corner. This brush is just a little bit more condensed, I guess you could say. So it's not as fluffy, and it allows you to get right into that little outer corner, and then I just kind of drag it in just a little bit. And then I go back with the original brush that I used to put on the soft brown, and I just kind of buff that all together and make sure there's no lines from the top part of the shadow, and just kind of blend it in like so. This is like taking me back to my old school days where I used to watch Jaclyn Hill, and every single time I do this, I'm like, windshield wiper motions, windshield wiper motions. So it's just kind of like a soft, warm brown. It's nothing like super intense, but I do want to give my eyes a little bit of warmth, especially because I'm going to put some lashes on. But if you don't want to do this and put anything on your eyes, you definitely don't have to. You could literally just put MAC Soft Brown or any type of like very neutral, soft shade, like buff it into the crease and just leave it. I've done that and it looks totally fine. So then with a more flat defining brush, I'm going to take this color Get Ready With Me here. Is just a little bit more warm tone than the other ones. And I'm not gonna put a ton on and make it like super glittery, but I do want a little something there because I just personally love glitter shades. You can also get this little eyeshadow, I think it's also from Too Faced, I want to say, and it's like a glitter glue, and it will just make any glitter shadow so much more pigmented and intense. It's really pretty, but for this look, like I said, I'm not going for that. This is just kind of more of a natural fall look. So I'm just gonna go ahead and blend this out. Because I'm doing kind of a more like subtle warm shadow, I'm just gonna leave it like this for now. I'm gonna do my lashes, my brows and everything, and then I might come back at the end to kind of deepen up the outer corners, but it doesn't have to be perfect. It's not anything crazy. I just wanted a little something there. There's a really nice cream shade in this ColourPop Bare Necessities palette. It's called Tease Me. So I'm gonna go ahead and take that and put that all around the upper part of my eye as well as that inner corner, and then I'll blend that out as well. I'll probably touch that up again. I just wanted to get something on there because I don't like to leave that completely bare skinned. Honestly, the most important part when you're doing any type of eye look is just to keep blending, like over blend what you think you need. I'm not joking, and just be patient, because when I first started doing shadows and looks and stuff, when I would first do it, I was like, I don't like it, and I would stop doing it and get so frustrated and just give up. But you have to kind of like hold out for that final look at the end, you know, because right now it doesn't look good. Nothing about this looks good, but at the end, I promise it will look good. Then I am going to take my little soap brow kit. I'm still loving this, and an Anastasia spoolie. I'm gonna spray it with their little coconut priming prep spray or whatever, and then I'm going to brush through my brows and brush them up. I know this is like a very controversial thing these days. I feel like some girls think this looks really good and some girls think it looks really bad, but I, for one, think it looks cute. I just like to make sure the tails are brushed down, you know? I don't like the whole entire brow to be sticking straight up. I like just the front to be a little poofy, floofy, if you will, and then the tails to be groomed. Then I'm gonna take the Benefit Brow Microblading Pen, the one that I showed you guys in my Ulta haul with the little finger looking brush. And I just take a little bit at the front and kind of do the same style motions, like pushing it upwards to give it more density. And then I kind of like to make sure that my high points of my brows are filled in all the way, because that's where mine are the most sparse. And I have not had my brows touched up for microblading since January of this year. So it has been 10 months, but honestly, they still look pretty good. I dye them myself with Just for Men beard dye, and it keeps my hair darker, like my roots. And I feel like it just makes the microblading look more full. And to set everything, I'm taking the IT Cosmetics Brow Filler. I talked about this in my fall faves. absolutely love this. You definitely don't have to use this in combination with all the other things. You could totally use this by itself and it would still look great. But I just like it because it really holds your brows in place. Like towards the end of the day when I've had this on, even after going to the gym, my eyebrows are still like they haven't moved at all. I'm just gonna do a quick coat of Better Than Sex mascara because I don't like to leave my lashes bare before I put false lashes on. I like to have a little something, although my eyelashes are kind of crusty from this morning, even though I showered already. Like leftover mascara on them, so they look a little rough, but we're gonna let that dry with my handy dandy fan. Then I'm going to take these Tarte Goddess lashes. To be honest, when I first saw these, I wasn't really sure how I was going to like them, but they have held up really nicely and they really give a nice like open-eyed look. They are a little bit more on the spiky side though. They're not very fluffy and they're definitely not natural looking. So if you want something a bit more natural, I'd recommend like the Ardell natural lashes. Those are also really cost efficient. So those are great, but for this look that I'm doing today, I'm gonna use these with some Eyelure glue. I'm just gonna put that all over the lash. It's also really important that you get your lashes, or the glue rather, very tacky before you put them on. This is a huge mistake that I used to make, was rushing putting them on, and it will make it so much more difficult. So you really want to like either blow on them or shake them around, whatever you got to do. Just make sure that they're not too like slippery when you go to put them on. And this is one of those things that really does take practice. Like I was not good at putting on lashes when I first started, but now I feel pretty confident, and sometimes I just have better days than others. I will say though, using a like eyelash specific tool to put on is very helpful, and you just want to get it as close to your natural lash line as possible, then pull it down with this. Sometimes I like to feel it with my finger because I can't tell with the tool how much I pushed it onto the lid. So it just kind of depends, and you gotta kind of like mess with it a little bit to get it. Like I can tell right here that my lash is kind of on it funky. So I'm gonna like squeeze that together, and then I'll mess with it with the mascara at the end. Okay, so then I'm just putting this little fan on there to make sure the glue dries before I start messing with anything else. But that actually went on a lot easier than I expected today. Love when you have a good lash day. See how like when I peel that tape off, it just kind of gives that very structured line on the shadow without having to mess with it. I do love that. Okay, so moving on to the face. Today I am actually going to use the Giorgio Armani Luminous Silk Foundation because I'm a little bit more fair skinned now that I haven't really seen the sun too much, and the Anastasia one is just a tad too dark for me right now. So this is the shade 5.25, and they sell these in the mini versions on Sephora, so if you're not sure if you'd like it, this is a great way to test it out. If you want a little less full coverage of a look, I would just recommend using a damp beauty blender only, but for today I'm gonna actually use both. So I'm using this JH03 like foundation buffer brush, and I'm gonna do that first before I take the beauty blender and then kind of buff out anything extra. So with this brush, I kind of want to make sure that I'm pushing the product into my skin and over top those little Nars concealer spots where I put just the concealer. This is what I did on my wedding day as well, and I just felt like it really gave me a lot better coverage and it lasted a lot longer. Not sure if that's just because there's 2 layers on there, but I just like the way that it came out, but I don't like the way the brush looks by itself. Because up close, I don't know, maybe if on camera you'll be able to tell, but up close, whenever I've just used a brush, I feel like you could see the brush lines on the makeup, if that makes sense. Like I prefer a more flawless look. So for this, I like to do the brush and then the beauty blender to kind of buff it all out and make sure that it's all nice and even. Make sure you get underneath the chin. Then I'm gonna take my damp beauty blender and just a little teeny, like super teeny amount. Keep in mind when you do the beauty blender, a lot of it gets absorbed into the sponge anyway, so you're not putting a ton of product on when you use the beauty blender. I don't know if you can really tell on camera, but in my opinion, I just feel like it kind of airbrushes everything and gives it a much nicer finish. than just using the brush by itself. I do like using the Beauty Blender for concealer, so I am using the Born This Way concealer, and this is in the color Vanilla. This you can have a pretty heavy hand with because it blends really nicely. So I'm gonna just put some on the inner and outer part of my eye, right there, and on any spots that you wanna highlight. I'm gonna take the corner part of my Beauty Blender and push that into the skin as well. I always like to do my concealer and anything that's underneath my eyes before finishing like the under part of my shadow, because I feel like once I do that, if I use this and kind of buff it out, I mess up the shadow that's underneath my eyes. Same rule applies with the shadow as it does with buffing foundation. You have to over blend. Even if you think you look ridiculous, just be patient and over blend, because the final product is definitely worth it. Especially when you first put on concealer, like it looks like so much when you first do it and your under eyes are really bright, but then once you contour and you warm up the face, it all kind of just comes together, you know? Then I'm gonna go back in with the Veil Hourglass setting powder, and I'm gonna take just a little bit of that and set my under eyes and buff that out as well. Because for me, if I don't immediately set my under eyes, they will crease a little bit more. And you can always take like a clean brush and wipe away any excess powder anyways. Moving on to contour, of course, I am about to run out of this. I need to order this on Sephora. This is the Nudies Bondi Bay contour stick. It is my all-time favorite contour stick. I love it. The color is absolutely perfect for me. And I just kind of drag it along, make sure my little baby hairs get out of there. Oh. And then I'm gonna use a different Beauty Blender to kind of buff this out as well. And then I also contour the top of my nose just like that. If you did want to make this a little bit more beginner friendly, you could totally skip doing cream contour, because I do think that cream contour is a little bit more difficult to work with than a bronzer. So in place of this, you could totally just do a regular old bronzer and do some on the top part of your cheeks in the same place that I'm doing this contour. With cream contour though, if you are doing a cream, make sure that when you're buffing up and not pulling the contour down onto your face. So I don't know if you can tell, but I'm pushing this product up. And then for this part, doesn't really matter too much because I'm gonna fix that anyway. This is a step that you absolutely do not have to do. This is definitely a bit extra, but I am taking an angled Beauty Blender. I think this is from Morphe, and this Thrive Cosmetics translucent powder. This one I think is a little bit, I don't know if it's actually translucent, but I'm going to bake the contour and just carve out where you want the bottom portion of your contour to be. And after it sets, we can always go back in and buff it so it's not too harsh, but this just kind of gives it a more like edged look, you know? And just to deepen up the contour that I have on there, I'm gonna take MAC Give Me Sun, and I'm going to press this on top of the contour, not dragging it, so that it kind of just holds this in place for when I put the blush on there. Because sometimes if you put a powder blush on top of a cream contour, it can definitely kind of separate and look a little bit muddy. I just like to set it with a little bit more warm of a color, and I really love the MAC Give Me Sun bronzer for this. So we'll let that sit. For blush, I'm using an oldie but a goodie. This is MAC's Melba. I would have to say that Melba and Mocha are probably my absolute favorite blushes for fall time. They kind of just give like a muted, dustiest rose kind of color, and I love it. So I'm putting a little bit on the apple of my cheeks, but making sure to bring it up all the way, and a little bit right there. Then I am going to take my original Beauty Blender and just kind of make sure that all of this is buffed out where the bronzer and the concealer meet right here, because you don't want that to be too harsh either. Last but not least, I'm taking my all-time favorite highlighter from Benefit. This is the Cookie Highlighter and a fan brush from Morphe, and I'm gonna put that right on top just like so. Nothing beats this highlight. I absolutely love this highlighter so much. I've used a liquid one. I bought one from Rare Beauty. I don't know, it's just not my fave thing I bought so far. Before I go on to the lips, I'm gonna finish my under eyes, and I'm just gonna go back in with that darker brown shade that I put on the outer corner of my eye, and I'm gonna use another flat brush and just kind of press it in there before I buff it out. This is also something I never used to do because I felt very intimidated by it, and it's something that I cannot go without doing now. Then you're just gonna take a little buffing guy like this You can go back in with a lighter brown if you want to. You could also use like that MAC soft brown color. And I'm just gonna buff this out all the way so it doesn't look harsh. Kind of showing you these like additional steps that you absolutely do not have to do, but I just do them because I like them. I am taking a NYX faux white pencil in the color Linen, and I'm going to put this on my inner waterline. It's not a pure stark white, it's almost like a champagne color kind of, but it just makes your eye color pop just a little bit more. It's one of my favorite things to do, but again, totally not necessary. Then I'm going to take the, I think this is It Cosmetics, yeah, It Cosmetics Lash Blowout, because I like the wand for my bottom lashes. And I'm going to put this on the bottom lashes, just making sure that I don't press too hard on the waterline because I don't want to get too much black on the little faux white liner that I just did. I'm gonna take the MAC Prep and Prime for my lips. This is something I discovered recently. I don't know where it's been, but if you are gonna wear a matte lip, you need this in your life. No matter what matte lip you're wearing, highly recommend. Lip liner, I'm going to use Whirl. This is also from MAC and also something that I feel like could go with absolutely any lip color whatsoever because it's such a natural lip color, if that makes sense. And it just kind of gives that little outline without being too obvious that you have lip liner on. So I also try not to overline too much, but my left side is really asymmetrical to my right, and my left side of my lip droops down for some reason, like no matter what. So I have to overline my left side just so that it matches the right. So that's it, not a ton. And again, if you wanted to do a more natural look, you could just leave this, and you definitely don't even need anything on top because I feel like Whirl is such a beautiful color on its own. Definitely more natural though. One of my all-time favorite MAC colors is Velvet Teddy. It's such a beautiful base. I feel like this is a great base for the Kylie Cosmetics basic color. They just complement each other really well. So I'm gonna put a very light layer of this on. It's almost just like a nudie brown, but I feel like it's not quite brown enough for what I'm going for. So with these matte colors, it's really important that you don't overdo them because that's how they can get kind of crusty looking. So I wiped off some of the excess on this, and I like to buff it in before I like keep adding more because that's how you can get into trouble with these. And you just want to go in with like a light hand and make sure that you're not putting like globs of it on your lips. So hopefully you can kind of see how that like two-dimensional color worked out. I do like the basic one on its own. It's just a very intense brown color, and I feel like the Velvet Teddy almost gives it that little bit of like neutral warmth without being too dirt brown looking, you know? So then I'm going to buff off this bakage that I got going on here. And sometimes when I buff it off, I'll notice that there's too harsh of a line, and I'll just go back in with a beauty blender and make sure that it's not too over the top. And if you ever like mess up the outer corners of your lips, you can just go back in with that concealer, especially the Born This Way one, because it does layer really nicely, and just kind of use a flat brush to carve out any of the edges that you may have messed up while you were lining. So that is basically the fall look. I am going to take this Charlotte Tilbury Airless, I always call it Airless, why do I call it this? Airbrush Flawless Spray. I go in first with this one. I know. But in my opinion, this one is just not as glowy as I would like it to be. So I take the All Nighter Ultra Glow. This is what I used on my wedding as well. Give myself a little extra. This will also set your lips too. But I just love that MAC Prep and Prime for any type of matte lip. Like this does not look like a super mattified lip, even though it is. Like it still has that little bit of sheen to it, which I love. So there we have it in my pajamas though. So now I want to quickly show you my outfit before I end this video because I feel like you need to see the whole look in its entirety. This is the final outfit. Everything except the jeans is from Abercrombie, and my little booties are from Lucky. These are Fran denim jeans that I got like a couple years ago, but they actually still fit, and they're nice and stretchy because you can't really wear jeans when you have like bigger legs. This little lace is a bodysuit from Abercrombie, and this is a suede jacket. And then these little necklaces are from May Cargo, which is the same necklace that I made with her with my pearl necklace. So that is the finished fall look. Babe, what do you think?
I love it.
Okay, so don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and click subscribe so you never miss a Monday or Thursday with Manders and Bailey.
Bailey?
Thanks for watching. Oh my gosh.
Oh gosh.
Oh my lord.
We happy.
Look at her. She's not here.